Thank you for your patience, Lynda. It's great to see you here.
You're
Uh,
welcome. Hey, Russell, this shows one thing, and that's that perseverance pays off big time because we worked on this for 43 minutes and got it figured out, but we did not give up. We could have given up, but you were like, no, we're doing it. We're doing it. I'm like, let's do it.
no, and see, video, this is where people are going. I mean, people want to be engaged. People want to be in the room. We may have missed out on having some people in the room to ask questions, but no worries. We are broadcasting live on Facebook. And so this is going out, and I just love technology. This is the platform I use, and I've had a lot of good conversations. Rick Feeney was here last week. I've had Hugh on, David Gruder.
Mm-hmm.
So we've had an interesting group of folks who've come in to join us, and it's wonderful to be a part of this. And a lot of people have fear around making videos, but they don't know who you are. So I've got some intro material here, and I generally don't do bios, but I'm gonna lead in with it anyway. After
Okay.
35 years of working in the corporate world, or working 20 years in the corporate world as a legal secretary, Lynda had an epiphany that she was not being fulfilled by her job. She discovered that she is here on earth to help people be seen and heard through the power of confidence and sharing their gifts. So she quit her job to embark on her journey to serve others and help them discover their excellence. And the thing that since we've met, that you've really driven home is getting out there and being visible and fighting through your fears. So tell us a little bit more about yourself that I didn't have in the bio, so people get to know who you are.
Okay. Well, first, Russell, thank you so much for having me. And I love to talk about this stuff because I've gone through a period in my life this last 3 years where I've gone through a tremendous growth, and the growth has caused me to become something, the dreaded confident, and with confidence comes so many doors that open. And I would not have met you, Russell, had I not stepped through that first door 3 years ago. I met you about a year and a half ago. If I had not stepped through that first door 3 years ago, I wouldn't be here today. There is no way, because I was terrified of so many things. Fear got in my way a lot. And many of us let fear get in our way of progress, So like I said, I'm really happy to be here. I love what you're doing. I love your heart. You're an amazing, amazing human being. And just anytime I have the opportunity to talk to you, I'm just always happy about it.
It's great to be here, and so we sat and we talked about collaborating on different things, but part of this quest of yours, because you've gone out and you've helped a lot of entrepreneurs and small business owners.
Mm-hmm.
And what you found as part of that was that people won't necessarily go out and speak with others. Everybody's really familiar with fear of speaking. But with
Mm-hmm.
the business owners that you work with, how does fear typically show up for them?
Well, it typically shows up as like an anxious, if you really think about it, and I had to tune in, like, what is fear? What does it feel like for me? Because once I could recognize what it feels like, I can fix it. But until then, it was just like I had these anxiety, feelings. Like sometimes you get in your stomach, maybe you're feeling a little nervous in your stomach, or maybe you're feeling like a locking up in your throat. And like some people talk about the throat chakra, which I don't really know much about, but I hear that saying, and I'm like, that okay, I can feel my throat getting locked up when I have a fearful feeling. And so the thing that you have to do then is you have to check in and say, what am I scared of? Is it real? And if not, then how can I just blast right through that and crush that fear and then get to the other side? Because 90% of the time, the fears that we feel and that, the feelings that we have, 90% of the time, we end up not experiencing that when we actually go through the event. So 10% of it is really what might be real, but 90% isn't even real, you know? And there's a saying, and I'm sure you've heard it, false evidence appearing real. So I've actually come up with my own saying, Russell, and you're going to love this. I know you're going to love it. So I've come up with faith erases anxious reactions.
Ooh.
If you have faith in what you're doing and you know 100% that what you are doing is what you're supposed to be doing, why you're placed here on earth, your faith is what's going to keep you going forward. And a lot of times just having faith or checking back in and saying, I know this is right, that will just like rid yourself of the fear right there. And it has worked for me time and time and time again. I did a year of no fear in 2015. Every single day, I did something fearful. But I had faith that I was going to make it through. And that's really what helped me through that whole year of doing something fearful every single day.
You know, it's really important for nonprofit leaders or purpose-driven people. They go out there and they want to solve a problem. And, you know, they don't look at it from a business sense. They look at it from making a real difference in the lives of others. And I've met wonderful people. Some of them are social workers, and they're a little bit shy about asking for things or asking for support. Sometimes they are, sometimes they are not. But there's this fear around really getting out there and pressing the flesh. You know, some people say, oh yeah, well, I'm in, just don't ask me to fundraise or just don't ask me to go out and speak in front of people.
Yeah.
And you started your own nonprofit, the Giving Angels in San Diego. So what would you say are the three most common fears that the nonprofit leaders that you come in contact with have?
Yeah. Well, you know, a lot of people have this fear. It's very common, and that is a fear of judgment. We're worried about what people are going to think about what we said or what we did or how we looked, how we dressed, and all these things. So fear of judgment is probably one of the biggest ones that stops people from making that phone call, from speaking on stage, from doing a live video, from doing recorded videos. You know, recorded videos are actually harder than live videos. And some people might say, no way. Well, it's true. They are so much harder because you're more critical of yourself and you do take after take after take. But so fear of judgment is number one. The second one is the fear of success. Now, even though like we're talking about nonprofits, there still is that fear of success. Like, how is it going to change my life if my life is different? If I'm not used to being successful, and then all of a sudden I might actually be successful, my life's going to change. How is it going to change? It's the unknown. We just don't know. And then the third one would be the famous fear of failure, you know, because failure is it's a scary thing to fail. But there's a book, and I can't remember who wrote it, so I don't want to say the name, but is called Fail Forward. And so the whole idea behind failing forward is to go ahead and put yourself out there and just fail. You fail and learn from it. I know you know this very well, Russell, right? We talk about it. We've talked about it before. Is you just fail, learn from it, and move on. Fail, learn from it, move on. Who's it? Thomas Edison. He failed 10,000 times before he finally got it right. You know, imagine yourself. You don't have to fail 10,000 times, but you might have to. And that's okay. Just keep going forward.
And that's really important for nonprofit leaders. I think that when you start talking to people about sales, or not necessarily sales, when you start talking to them about recruiting folks, asking for board members, asking for donations, asking for support, talking about why their cause is important, some of them, they kind of freeze up and they feel like, well, I don't want to boast, I don't want to brag. But the way that things are working today, a lot goes into how visible you are, and people will not be able to support you if they don't know about your work. And the cost of getting that done through traditional advertising or whatever is just it's a non-starter for most. They don't have the budget.
Mm-hmm.
But to actually talk to other people, to broadcast to other people, social media, particularly Facebook, that has over 1 billion users, is a way to get your message out there without breaking the bank, so to speak. But a lot of people are intimidated by social media because you can advertise on it. There's there seem to be 1,000 platforms out there. Which one do you use? And so what do you say to people about social media? What is it that they really need to think about in terms of using it effectively?
Well, I love this topic, Russell, because one of the first things you mentioned, so this is actually for me a two-part answer, not a one-part answer. The first thing is you talked about how sometimes people, like, they don't want to boast and brag about what they're doing. So here's where you need to get yourself out of the picture. This is not about you. This is not about you at all. This is about making an impact in the lives of others. Now, let's say that you sat there and you're like, well, I don't want to talk about it. I don't want to talk about it. That means you're internalizing and you're thinking that this is about you. People are not donating to your program for you. They're donating to your program because they love your cause. So you have to get yourself out of that equation. Now, I had one of my clients, she was going out to speak at an event and she was all excited. She signed up and she was going to go there and she was going to speak and she was going to make an impact, make a positive impact. Then as she was driving there, she started thinking, well, you know what? I don't think I want to do it because I don't like the way I look. I've gained some weight. I don't really like the clothes that I have. I don't feel really comfortable. And I said, get out of your own head. This is not about you. This is about delivering to them a message they need to hear. Somebody is going to be sitting in that audience at that very moment who needs to hear what you have to say. And so she was like, thank you so much. I needed that. Like, I need to stop worrying about what I look like because people aren't going to be looking at you for what you look like. They're going to be hearing your message. And that's what you want to deliver. So that's the first thing, is get out of your own head and realize this is not about you. This is about making the impact that you want to make. So get clear on that. And we know Wendy Lipton-Dibner talks about focusing on the impact all the time. She has a book. Go out there and buy it, focus on impact, and that will get you remembering how important it is to literally focus on the impact, not on yourself. So that was the first one. I wasn't trying to do like a, hey, Wendy, you rock. She does. So, but I wasn't here to like promote Wendy, but I always will promote Wendy because she's amazing, right? So the next thing is, now that you have gotten yourself out of the way, get yourself out of the way, and you know what your purpose is. You know what your why is, why you're here on earth, why you're making this impact, why you have chosen this cause. There's something deep-seated inside of you that has made you choose this particular cause that you're championing. Now it's time for you to share that with the world. You can share that one person at a time, or you can share that with the world, however, but you need to share. And this is not about bragging. This isn't bragging at all. This is sharing a cause that is deep within your soul. And there's somebody else out there. There's a lot of people out there that also want to support the same cause, but they don't know who to give their money to because they're not sure who they can trust. But guess what? Once you build that rapport of trust, there's the know, like, and trust factor that we talk about in marketing all the time. Once you have gained that, not that they know who you are, they can trust you and they like you, that's when they're going to donate to the cause that you are championing. But you have to get yourself out there to do that. And sorry, I can go on a soapbox on this all day long because this is one of the things I think is so extremely important, is for us to get out of our own way.
And it's about building relationships. So for friends out on Facebook, if you have any questions or comments that you'd like to send in, please do so by all means, because we're here to talk with people about that. And so I love Wendy too. She's just marvelous. And Wendy Lipton-Dibner and Roberto Candelaria. And there are just so many people out there that have come across who are purpose driven, and they're out there to help people get a message in front of other people. And so, it's really not uncommon for people to be afraid to speak, for example, in front of a crowd. The fear of speaking publicly is well known, but if someone's in a room and they're there with their camera, it seems like there might as well be 10,000 people in the room.
Yeah.
How is it that people have so much anxiety when there's nothing in front of them except the camera?
Yeah, it's kind of interesting because you have fear when you are speaking in a room of 2 people, 10 people, 100 people, 1,000 people, but you also have this fear in front of a camera that you're not speaking to anybody, right? So first, one of the biggest mistakes people make when they're doing their live videos, their Facebook Live. So I have my phone here, and you have to find your camera. So for example, my camera is right here in the corner. So when I'm doing my videos, I need to look at my camera. But what people do is they stare at themselves on the screen. And when you do that, you're not connecting with your audience. You're not talking to your audience. So I just brought that up is because that's really, that's like one of the most important things you can do is to make sure to connect with your audience, that you're staring at the camera. So right now I have on the screen, I have Russell and I are on my screen, but I'm actually looking at my camera. I have a webcam and it's on my computer there. And so I'm staring at that so that I can make a connection with you so that you know that I'm speaking to you. So here's what I did to get over my fear, because when I first started doing videos, which was a little over 3 years ago now, I've done at least one video every day for the last 3 years. And I'll just quickly share that story, if you don't mind, Russell, like why I got into it. I have a friend who has cerebral palsy, and I've known him since the day he was born. He's now 34 years old. And he asked me one day if I would do a video for him.
Okay.
And because, I've known him forever and he has cerebral palsy, I was like, yeah, of course. So I was so scared to do this video. And this was before live video. So I had to take out my camera, shoot the video, download it to my computer, and then upload it to Facebook. And so I did the video, and it was basically just a short, hey, Ryan, it's Lynda. Here's the video you asked me for. Have a great day. Like that was it. But even just to say that, I was scared to do it. But I did it because I made a promise. And again, like I had this promise I made to somebody, and I had to fulfill that promise and obligation because I fulfill my promises and obligations, right? So I posted it to Facebook. And then the next day he was like, I really like your video so much. Will you do one for me every day? And I was like, yes, So I made that promise to Ryan to do a video every single day. And then about 2 months into this, so I've been doing the videos, that's about 60 videos, I did these videos. And my life coach, she says, when are you going to stop doing the videos? And I'm like, stop, what are you talking about? He asked me to do them every day. And I said, yes. She goes, well, you got to put a stop to it. And I go, why? I made this promise, but I got to tell you, Russell, that was probably one of the biggest things I'd ever done in my life to start me on the path to having confidence in doing this, in speaking on stage, in making phone calls, in so many different things that I've done throughout the years. But I connect with the audience by looking at the camera, and I actually look at the camera as if it were a person, and the camera has become a person to me. And that gets rid of those fears because I'm now looking at it as, so I give it a name. Like my camera has a name, and my camera's name is Nancy. And so I'm just having a conversation with Nancy every day, And I'm still doing those videos every day, by the way.
Every day. Yes. And
every day.
I got involved with, you started a few months back, you started a 7-day Facebook Live video challenge. And I'd been doing a few things prior to. I would do an intermittent broadcast every once in a while. And then I got into your challenge and I thought, this is pretty good. And from there, I launched this broadcast and I started doing this at least once a week. And of course, I co-host the Nonprofit Exchange on Tuesdays, which is a CenterVision Leadership Foundation podcast. I'm co-host with Hugh Ballou. So every week I'm on camera and working on doing a series of live recordings on fundraising. So it's important to be out here and to get out there So how did you come up with this idea of doing the challenge, and what prompted that?
Well, it was last year, actually December of last year, that I decided to do my first challenge. And it's, because I had gone through a year of no fear in 2015, every day I did something that scared me. And then 2016, I was like, what can I do different? And I decided on January 1st of 2016 that I was going to sing happy birthday to all my Facebook friends. Yeah, why not? So I sing happy birthday to all my Facebook friends. This is my second year I've done that, which has been a lot of fun. But the end of last year, I was like, I got to do something different. I'm always challenging myself to do something different. And I said, I'm seeing a lot of people doing challenges. I'm going to challenge myself to do a challenge. And that's really how it started, because I wanted to see if I could do a challenge. And then I said, what do I do consistently and what do I do really well? Well, that's video. And I teach people how to do, live videos. This is in particular live videos, just teaching them how to do them. I'll do a live video challenge. So that's what I did December of 2016. I did the whole month, 31 days of videos, and it was a lot. And then I did another one in, I think it was March. I think that's the one you joined. And that was the 7-day, because I learned that 31 days is too long to commit, for a lot of people. So I shortened it to 7 days.
Well, it takes 7 days or 7 times to make something a habit. That's
Yeah.
the number that comes as a strength. And just being out there, being in front of people, and it's a lot easier from the office. Although I don't mind speaking in front of groups. I've done some of that now, and you always get the butterflies, and the trick isn't to get rid of the butterflies, is to get them flying in the same direction.
Yes.
And so yeah, the opportunity with video and with social media is like anything else. It always pays to have a good strategy, but we're trying to engage with people. And one of the things that seems to work best when done well are live events, because you get people in the room, they get to put faces to names. There's often music, there's food, people are breaking bread, and they're having a good time, and you're creating a memorable experience. And so live events tend to be one of the more popular ways for nonprofits to use money.
Yeah.
How much of an opportunity are they missing if they're not live streaming from these events?
Oh man, you can't really place a number on the opportunity that is missed, because the possibilities are endless. Abundance is all over the place. And you never know if that one video that you're shooting from your event, whether it's maybe you assign somebody to talk to the guests and find out what they're all about. Now they're going to feel included as part of the nonprofit, right? So maybe they'll donate more. Or maybe like the person you're interviewing will donate more frequently. But not only that, maybe that guest or you make a connection with someone on the outside that can't attend the event. So there's possibilities are endless. And the thing about videos is it's really about, like I said, building that know, like, and trust factor. Because once people see you and they get to know who you are as a person, then they're going to decide if I want to follow that person or not. Now, if you're a very likable person, you're a person who has a fun, outgoing personality, you're going to attract fun, outgoing personality people. If you're a person who's a little more serious and maybe you're not like all crazy, like I'm crazy sometimes, maybe you're not like that. Maybe you're somebody who's more serious. You're going to attract people who are serious to you. What's cool is you're going to attract people who are what we like to call your tribe, right? You're going to attract to you your tribe. Now, I want to use an example of, let's say your nonprofit has, maybe you have 6 people who are on your board of directors, for example. And let's say all 6 of those people show up at this particular fundraising event. And all 6 of those people walk around with a camera doing a live video. It's going to be from their perspective. So you're going to have 6 different people's perspective of this event, 6 different people's personalities sharing this event. But you have people having an opportunity to see what you guys are doing, what you're about, where your heart is, who it is that you're saving, who it is that you're helping. And they get to see you for what you're working on. It's so invaluable, Russell. And, it's not only about the live views, the replay views is where it really is, because 90% of your views are going to be later. So that's why it's really important to go live so you can engage the audience. If they pop on while you're live, say hi to them, acknowledge them, ask them if they have any questions. Do you want me to show you something about like where we are? Because one time I was doing a video, and I was doing this live video, and I was at this really cool venue, and somebody asked me like, hey, flip out because we want to see what you're looking at. And I was like, that's so cool, right? They were curious. So I turned my camera view around and they were able to see what I was looking at. So the point is that people want to engage, but they need to see you out there in order for them to engage with you.
Yeah, and among other opportunities. So I've done some Facebook Live at events here and there with organizations I like to support, and I had a chance to get some donors on camera, some volunteers on camera. I was at an art gallery for one, and I got a chance to talk to some of the artisans and thank them and found out about their involvement with the nonprofit and what they see. So when you have a chance to sort of just tell people how their support has been instrumental in getting where they're going, and to find out what's important to them, to talk to them, find out what they like about it, why they work with the organization. So when you bring people in, it's a chance to honor them. And you also get people a chance to see how fun it is to be involved with that. Now, if you can get permission, and you're working with people and they would love to talk about how what you've done has made a change, that's very powerful. To have somebody recommend you and talk about the work you're doing. So there's an opportunity to leverage that and make use of it. And so what would you say to somebody that's just thinking, well, yes, I can see the points they're making and it all makes sense, but they still have that fear, that's something that's holding them back. What's that first thing that you would say that they should do to help them overcome that fear?
Well, first thing is they need to discover what's causing the fear. So I can use an example of me. One of the reasons that I was fearful of doing videos the first time, because I also, I had the fear of judgment. But that fear, what caused the fear of judgment is what I had to figure out. And what I discovered, Russell, by going through my why, like I worked on my why, my 7 levels of why, was absolutely an amazing exercise that I did. But what that exercise did for me is it made me realize why I was fearful of being judged. And I was fearful of being judged because when I was little, I grew up in an abusive, very abusive household with a raging alcoholic. My dad was a raging alcoholic. And I was always fearful that something was going to happen to me, that I was going to take the brunt of Dad's anger. Now, I don't condone, I don't condemn him for what he did. He did the best he could with his life. And I realize that now as an adult. Back then I hated him, honestly. But, as an adult, I've learned to forgive and realize that he was living the best life he knew how to live. But my fears stemmed from that because my dad was very critical of my mom and judged my mom all the time. So I recognized that that was my fear. My fear was of being judged because of that. And what that did is that gave me the ability and the freedom to say, it's okay. People are going to judge me. They're going to judge me anyway. So why don't I at least put myself out there and let them judge me for who I really am? So that was the first thing is figure out what is that fear, what's causing it, so you can address it, release it, and then move forward and just crush whatever that fear is.
Your leader is really the person that's front and center, your executive director. You might have a board president or somebody that really likes to get in front of camera, but it's possible that you can find a volunteer, somebody who just loves that sort of thing.
Yeah.
So you create the tools, which would be all of the information on your goals, what it is you're trying to accomplish, give them material to work with so that they can talk to other people about the organization. And by the way, that's important for everybody to have, so that you have a consistent message and a story. They understand how the organization works and what it is you're trying to do. And but people can prepare themselves and to get out here the same way they can if they're going to do a speech. There are different things that they can do. It's a little bit different with video, of course. So when people are trying to prepare themselves to go on a live broadcast or a program like this one, what are some of the steps that you walk them through so that they can do this and do it effectively?
Yeah, I actually have a video content planner. I don't have a link to it handy, but I can get that to you. A video content planner that they can go through it. So I talk a little bit about, why you should plan it out, how to plan it out, what's the best way to do it in this planner. And it really will be helpful because it gets you, focused. And also, just like any social media, it's ideal. You don't have to do it, but it's ideal to actually have a plan of action. Like, why am I doing what I'm doing? Why am I doing my posts? Why am I doing Monday, Wednesday, Friday? Or if I'm doing random, it can get confusing sometimes for your audience, right? So like find what works for your audience and then do it. Now, here's the one thing that I love to talk about debunking experts sometimes because of all the studying I've done this last couple of years, I've discovered that one topic can have 50, 60, 70 different opinions on how to do it. So the ideal thing is to figure out what works for your audience. So you might say, see posts saying, post on Facebook every Monday, Wednesday, Friday, 10 o'clock on Monday, 1 o'clock on Wednesday, and then 3 o'clock on Friday or something like that. I don't know if that's what it is, but that's just an example. But if your audience, like I have a lot of my audience is actually in Singapore. Okay. Well, they're like 18 hours ahead of me. So they're going to be watching at a different time, right? So it doesn't matter what all that stuff says. Find out what works for the majority of your audience and just do it. And as far as live video goes, the beauty is in the replay. So it doesn't matter when you do it, just do it, right? So that's my biggest advice.
Yeah. People can go in and they can go on to a program or broadcast like this one or some of the other shows that you see on the internet. And there are some folks out there, you may know Bert Oliva. Bert's videos are all well done. And they have that professional look and feel, and people get intimidated by that. It's like, oh my God, this is going to take all sorts of expensive gear.
Right.
But in actuality, what is it that somebody needs to get started to do a show like this one, for example?
Well, this one, so to do a show like this one, that's a great question because we're on Zoom right now, and Zoom. Russell's paying $55 a month for this program that he's using. And because there's two aspects of it, Zoom Pro, and then you have to get Zoom Webinar. But you can do this. Like say, for example, Russell wanted to interview me on my phone. I can actually go on Zoom on my phone and be on this interview with Russell. But I have a setup right now. I have a lighting, I have my camera, I have my webcam, I have a Blue Yeti microphone. Like I envied over this for like probably about 6 months before I finally said, you know what, just go ahead and buy it. But the thing is that today's people, we're used to people being real. We're used to real time. And you don't have to have a big setup. It doesn't have to be fancy. Like Russell's lighting isn't the best. So you see he's doing it though. Here's the thing. He's actually doing it. And that's what's going to make the impact. Do you guys care about what the lighting is like at his place right now? I know I don't. If he's got a message I want to hear, that's all that matters. This is so important because I tested this. I've done now, I think four videos while I'm driving in my car, pitch black, and you can't see me at all. It's literally pitch black. And I have people commenting. Now, I don't look at the comments while I'm driving. I just talk. And when I get to my destination, I look and I see if there are any comments. But people stay engaged with me on my videos when it's pitch black. So that's how you can see how unimportant that really is. I know the experts say you want to have stuff moving all the time because you want to keep people's attention. But if your message is valuable or entertaining, they're going to stick on there. So you want to make sure that whatever you're doing is providing value to the viewer, value to the listener, because that's what they want to hear. How many podcasts have you listened to? There's no video there, you know? So don't get so wrapped up into the perfection syndrome. That's not a place you want to sit because it's really unrealistic. It's a matter like my message is always going to be just get out there and do it. Do it scared. You know, just do it scared. Now later you can work on making it better. Like me, I did for like 2 years with having crappy lighting. Like I wasn't worried about anything. I was fulfilling an obligation to Ryan. That's all it was about. And my message was silly. You know, I just would do random things. I talk about my dogs some days, you know, I talk about brushing your teeth. Like I just totally did random videos because I was fulfilling this obligation, but I still ended up getting people to follow me because they thought it was funny, you know, or they thought it was goofy, and that's what they needed at the time. So it's just a matter of putting yourself out there and getting your message heard, because it can't be heard if you're not putting it out there.
Well, one of the things my good friend and accountability coach Ryan Roy likes to say frequently, done is better than perfect.
Yeah.
And so a studio is an ambition. I'm going to work on having a studio here at some point. But it's important for me to talk to people. I need to get a message out there and talk to people and let them know that the work they're doing is important, and to try to bring information and folks out like you in to talk with them about things that they can do to get their message out there and to be better at what they're doing. So it's really important to get that information out there and to connect with people. So the thing is, it's really more than anything else is to get started. And
yes.
Just to get started and to persist at it
and Russell, you were in the Facebook Live. I have a free Facebook Live support group. Maybe go in there, because it's a group of people who, a lot of them had never done a video before. I've helped over, a couple hundred, probably about 250 people so far, do their first videos. And it's so awesome to see what they've done. But it's FB Live Video Free Support Group. Free video support group. I have long names for all my stuff, but it's FB Live Video Support Group or something. You'll find it. FB Live Free Video Support Group.
And so we'll grab those links for the replay, because you actually do school. So if people are intimidated by it, so they want to learn to use it better, or they want to find out more about what type of gear to get and to deal with those type of fears. And so we've been talking more or less in terms of live video, but people have a little bit of anxiety around the ask. So there's other tools out there. It's really important to be visible. You've got to be visible. So to make sure they can get a hold of you to find out how to do that, so that they'll get their message out there.
Yeah. And you know what? I want to address the ask question. I've been fundraising for 16 years. As just a passion, because I love fundraising. And so I've always had like a full-time job while also fundraising. And here's the thing: I've raised, hundreds of thousands of dollars on my own, just asking. And it's not like millions or anything, but I'm just like one little person asking for $25 here, $25 there, adding up to a couple $100,000. Well, here's the thing that I discovered is that I need to remove me out of the equation. I wasn't asking for people to donate to me. I was asking for people to donate to a cause. And so once I removed my me out of the whole entire equation, I will beg, and I will just beg and beg and beg until you finally say no. To me, ask me later means I'll ask you later, and if you say yes and donate, I'm going to keep asking you and you're going to keep on donating to me. Keep on donating. I've had people who donate every single time I ask, every single time. They never say no. So I'm going to keep asking, but they're not donating to me. They're donating to the cause. They're donating to, and they know that since I'm passionate about that cause, that it's a cause that they can trust because they know, like, and trust me. And they know I'm connected to only things that are going to be things that they can trust as well.
So yeah, tell us a little bit about Giving Angels. This is fairly new. So,
Yeah.
and we talked about some things. So tell the audience a little bit about Giving Angels, what they do, and how you came up with the concept, and how you went about getting support.
Okay, thank you so much for asking. Yeah, the Giving Angels is a nonprofit I started February of 2016, and our mission is to get homeless veterans off the streets and into homes. And as with any nonprofit, you start. you you start with $0. You have your people who are passionate about the project, which is where we are still kind of there right now. We don't have $0, but we have very little money to for right now, because I had to change my focus on something else. But being the founder of it, like I just have such a passion for every time I drive downtown and I see people are, homeless, they're sleeping in tents. And to think that we're in such a privileged society, to think that like one of my biggest fears is being homeless.
Mm.
And because that's one of my biggest fears, I want to do what I can to get people off the streets. Now, why veterans? Well, I chose veterans because my husband is an ex-Marine. My son is an ex-Marine. My dad is an ex-Navy. And my brother-in-law was also he was ex-Army who became homeless. He was homeless for 7 years.
Mm.
And there was no help for him out there. And he had some mental issues, but there still wasn't even any help for him while he was out there, on the streets. And, just my heart goes out to them, because I personally, I can't see myself sleeping on a sidewalk. And I don't think any human being should be sleeping on a sidewalk. And once we clear the streets up and get them into homes, we won't have them on the streets anymore. And so, like a lot of people in downtown San Diego, they don't want to go downtown because of all the homeless. Well, guess what? If we take them off the streets, they won't be homeless anymore, and they won't be on the streets. So I see this huge vision. I have this humongous vision that I'm walking down San Diego. Like, I can actually see it, that in 5 years, I'm walking down San Diego and I don't see any evidence of there ever having been a homeless person, because they're all off the streets and they're in homes. That's what my vision is.
And that's the bigger vision, and it's a great vision, and it's a great place to move toward. And a lot of leaders get overwhelmed because they see that overwhelming vision. It's like, oh,
yeah.
Well, how do I break that down into manageable chunks? And so it's really about asking for support. Hence the need to be in front of people.
Mm-hmm.
Have to be in front of people to ask, not for themselves, but for the people that are going to benefit.
Right.
And a lot of organizations are good. Storytelling is important, but there's some organizations that are really good at talking about the impact in dollars. When you go to their donation page, $25 buys a textbook, or $25 buys a pair of shoes, and you're actually linking that impact to a person.
Mm-hmm.
And there were some organizations that do that really well, where they have the people who are suffering on camera and talk about the change that those dollars will make. But it's about being out there. It's marketing. And so a lot of people think that it's, that's something you do when you're trying to make profits, and it is. And so you've got monetary profits, and you've got social profit.
Mm-hmm.
Social profit covers not just the money, but the real difference you're making in the lives of other people. And you've got to be able to demonstrate. I mean, some people really want to see what you're doing. So why wouldn't somebody use video to actually document what they're doing?
Yeah, exactly. It's a great way, that social proof, right? Because when we document what we're doing, especially using video, because it's live and they can see that it's actually really, really happening. Because pictures, you could take a picture of like only this snapshot here and then that snapshot here showing the before and the after. Whereas the video, you can actually show the process of how you went from before to after. So like we're doing a turkey drive, and I'm going to do a 1-day flash turkey fundraising drive this year because my time is very limited right now. So I'm going to do just like a 24 hours turkey fundraising drive to raise money for turkeys for Thanksgiving for the homeless veterans here in San Diego. Last year we fed 1,600 veterans for Thanksgiving. And so every $25, like you're saying, the measurement, right? Every $25 can feed 8 veterans. So I just, I have a certain dollar amount that I want to raise. It's my goal. And I just push and do what I can to make it happen in that 24-hour period is what I'll be doing. But it's like you said, seeing the vision can sometimes get very overwhelming. So what I do is I like to remind myself of the vision, but then I need to check back into now, like what's the first step I need to take, or what's that next step, and then that next step, instead of getting all wrapped up in like, I'm not there yet, because it will happen. If you have that vision and it is stronger than anything, that faith that you have is what's going to pull you through. And that's what's going to make that vision become a reality, because you're going to keep moving forward towards that vision.
That's it. It's a little bit at a time. And so, I'll now get that information for the replay too, because we do a lot of work. My church does a lot of work, and I'll be out serving meals on Thanksgiving Day myself.
Awesome.
Here in Denver, we've got a lot of people who are doing phenomenal work out here. So it's really important. And so I'm always looking for stories of nonprofits that are out here doing things. Either they're just out here making a difference. Then you have some that are highly skilled. So I've done some segments on what I call difference makers, turned coined by our friend Wendy Lipton-Dibner. And then we have what I call high performance nonprofits. They're firing off at all cylinders and performing at a very high level, leveraging people and resources to bring impact to large numbers of people. And so I'm always on the lookout for those types of folks. And so we talked a little bit earlier about what nonprofit leaders are doing. And the reality is that when you're out there, you're not really out there with their hat in hand, but providing an opportunity for people to partner with you to make a real difference in the lives of people. And it's difficult for some people to talk to people about that, whether they're on camera or whether they're face to face with somebody. And why do you think it's so hard for a nonprofit leader to think in terms of value when they're talking to people about the work they do? Why is that such a difficult conversation?
Yeah, that's a great question, because I actually encountered that myself when I had another nonprofit that I had started that I stepped down as president because I had to concentrate on my business. But so that nonprofit, at the beginning, I was having a hard time asking because it was a nonprofit that I started. And it's kind of interesting when you start your own nonprofit, you feel such a sense of like, this is my baby. This is me. Like, I'm starting it because I have this passion. It's so deep. And that's why I want to start this nonprofit. So that's when you have to remember, that's when you have to sever that mindset, of it's not you, this is for others. And so just having that conversation, there's some people who maybe just are not going to be the ones who are going to be the spokeshead, or the spokesperson for that organization. And that's okay. They don't have to. It's just ideal, like, especially if the founder or the board members, especially the founder, if the founder can gain that courage to just get out there and talk about why they started this, because there is some deep seated root reason why you started this. There's something that anguished in you that made you say, I'm going to go through all the pain in the ass to file a corporation, to file for a 501c3, to keep in tune with the attorney general, to make sure that I'm following all the rules, all the laws. Yeah. That's a pain. Oh my God, your passion is stronger than that pain. So check back in with that again and remind yourself why you started it in the first place. And then get out and talk to somebody like Russell and let him know why you started it. And then ask him if he knows anybody who would want to be connected with your group, like with what you're passionate about. If you're dealing with music, for example, find musicians who have a passion for music and know how much it changes a child's life. So connect with people who want to connect with what you're doing. And just make sure your message is one that people understand. I confused people for a long time. So I know what that's all about.
Well, yes, it's a confused mind always says no.
No, yeah.
That messaging is really critical, and collaboration is very important. You know, when you collaborate, and when people actually see you working with like-minded people and organizations and partnering with organizations that are really working in the same space, and you're out there trying to accomplish things together, it generates more support because their supporters find out about you, your supporters find out about them, and the tribe grows bigger, and you find new ways to leverage those talents. And that's part of what I talk about in 4 Steps to Building a High Performance Nonprofit is finding those collaborative partners, people who are on the same page. And how about some examples of some of those types of collaborations that just being in the space and being visible, talk about some of the opportunities that's created for Giving Angels to find collaborative partners because you were visible and people were out there and they're able to find you.
Yeah, and I love that question because when, again, I first started Giving Angels, I want to get homeless veterans off the streets and into homes. And I realized that it's not going to happen that day. And there's a lot of work that we have to do to actually make that happen, but we can take one step at a time to get ourselves there. Right. So the first year we decided to do the turkey drive, raise the money for turkeys. And when we did that, I was like, I don't want to cook turkey, so I got to partner with someone who's going to cook the turkey. Okay. I don't have anywhere to store, 80 turkeys, but we have an organization here called Father Joe's Villages, and they feed the homeless. So I was like, hey, Father Joe, what is it that you guys need for Thanksgiving? And they're like, we don't need any canned goods because we have so many canned goods, but what we do need is turkeys. Ooh. So I reached out and I said, what is the need? And I said, okay, we will fill that need. And so that's what we did. We did, 2 years in a row, and it's been absolutely amazing. So it's like a little partnership that I've created with Father Joe's that we're going to supply something that they need. We're kind of staying under the radar right now, like I said, because I'm working on my business and stuff. But when we're ready to rock and roll, I'm telling you, we're going to rock and roll because I know exactly what we need to do. I just don't have the manpower right now. So I just need to develop all that stuff. So Father Joe's is one of those, like a one example. Then another example is because me putting myself out there and doing what I do. I was doing a video one day. This one girl, I didn't know her yet, but we were friends on Facebook, but we didn't know each other. And she saw me doing a video one day about something. I think it was about the Giving Angels. And so she reached out to me and said, hey, there's this event I would love for you to attend. It's really cool. They're going to talk about tiny houses, which is perfect for homeless veterans. And I was like, okay, I'll attend. I had no idea what I was getting into, but it was actually a big, big meeting with there were like 50 people there. And they were all talking about how to get all the homeless veterans off the streets in San Diego. It was so cool. But what I did is I pulled out my camera and I decided to do a live video at this venue this event I was attending. And then I ended up interviewing the bigwig, the guy who put this whole event together. And the next thing I know, I have him and me and some of the other organizations that were at that event were on this TV show because somebody saw me doing the video with this guy and said, hey, will you guys come on our show? And I was like, of course, if I hadn't put if I hadn't gone and put us out there, they wouldn't have seen me or them, those other people. And now they're like in communication with a TV station to do more shows together. So it's like this collaboration, this collaborative effort ended up happening without being, thought of like ahead of time. But I saw the opportunity to talk to that guy, and I was like, I'm going to talk to him because I want to share with people what he's doing. I want to share what he's doing. It wasn't about me at all. It was getting his message out there about the tiny houses and what they're doing with them. And so like, that's like what all happened from that one little event. And I got to tell you, Russell, the whole reason I did it is because I actually don't like meeting new people. I'm actually a very shy person. And I know you don't believe me, but I am. So I have this shyness about meeting people, but when I'm on camera and I can advertise them to the world, I'm like, this is easy because I can just ask them questions and then I'm going to introduce them to my audience. And so for me, that's like an easy way for me to get myself on camera and to meet new people is by interviewing them. I love it. It's so much fun for me. So it's kind of like self-serving, but it's so fun.
Collaboration, and that's what makes collaboration powerful, because you meet people. There's a synergy when you fill one another's gaps. Everybody's working from their strengths, and you have complementary skills and assets, and so it's a group effort, and more work makes the hands lighter. So
That's
I
true.
really appreciate everything that you're doing out there, and the work that you're doing is tremendous. And
Thank you.
I'm grateful that you've taken some time out this afternoon. Took us a little bit of time to get going. But
Yeah.
Okay. These things happen from time to time. That's the nature of technology. And if you let your fear or setback hinder you, you just won't move forward. And it's to fight through that. So because people are counting on us to help make that difference. So what are some closing thoughts that you would like to leave the audience as far as doing live video and getting their message out there and actually dealing with fear? Because we haven't really talked about fear. And I don't think it stops with being in front of a camera from your perspective. So tell us a little bit about what they should do and how they might find out more if they're interested in learning how to deal with it.
Okay, well, thanks for asking that. So I wrote a little note about this because I wanted to make sure I covered this. And there's two things a nonprofit wants. One is money, right? That's the obvious. And the other is awareness, because once you have awareness, that's when the donations start coming in. That's when the volunteers start coming. That's when people start coming out to help you because they love your cause. So the thing about awareness is like, it's so important to, again, know what your message is, make sure it's very clear, that people understand it. And here's like something that we worked through. This was so hard for us to figure out our mission statement, because I was like, who are we helping? What are we doing? And the message was so confusing to people. Oh, sorry about that. So confusing to people that they kept asking more and more questions, which helped us get deeper into figuring it out. So you want to make sure that when you talk about your nonprofit, that you're talking about the mission and what it is, like what the impact is going to be. It's like Russell said, if you can have a measurable number, that's really awesome. Like me, I can say, my vision is that in 5 years, I see San Diego streets to have 0 homeless people, 0 evidence that there was ever a homeless person here. And I'm putting a vision in people's head. What my vision is, I can now put it into your head. Like you visualize walking down San Diego streets, they're nice and clean. So it's trying to figure out what message you're going to put out there and then make sure you're clear on it. Talk about it all the time. Because if you think about, let's say 5 years ago, let's say 10 years ago, when you watch TV, we didn't have the ability back then to do DVR and skip through all the commercials. Well, now you can skip through commercials, right? But we're still a society that is used to seeing repetitive of the same thing. So if you think about like, oh, I don't want to do so many videos because I don't want to like inundate my audience. I don't want them to get so tired of me. Well, the thing is that Facebook is so fast now. There's actually 2.4 billion users on Facebook right now. There's 7 billion people on the planet. So we're getting close to 50% of the planet being on Facebook as it is. So there's, in your timeline or somebody's timeline, there are so many messages that are just scrolling through. So in order for you to be seen and be heard on their timelines, you got to pop in. You got to keep popping in so they see you. And here's the thing, if they see you and they know what your cause is, every time they see you, even if they don't watch your video, every time they see you pop up, they're going to remember you and what your cause is. And then when you're doing a push for funds, doing a fundraising push, they're going to remember, oh yeah, she does this and I really want to give to her or her program or his program. That's really what I want to help. So you really do need to put yourself out there. Don't worry about running people off, because anybody you run off is not a person that's attracted to you anyway. So I have people that watch every single video I do, and I do a lot of videos, but they watch every single video I do. They don't get tired of me because they like my message or they like what I have to say, or I'm entertaining to them, or I'm silly to them, or whatever it is. But they keep on watching because there's something that I'm delivering to them that they want to hear. So just keep putting yourself out there. That's my biggest advice. If you don't want to do it, find somebody in your organization who has the passion you have and can share it in a way that is passionate. Don't just hire some PR firm. Don't just hire some marketing firm. Hire somebody who's passionate about what you do and wants to really share your message with the world so that you can make that difference and make that impact.
And there's always a cheerleader somewhere in the crowd. And so that would be a way that somebody can help. There's so many ways that people can help your organization without necessarily writing a check.
Yeah.
Just understanding what you need to get in front of people and being out there.
Mm-hmm.
So Giving Tuesday is November 28th. That's coming up. So I'm giving some thought to doing a special edition of this show.
Oh, cool.
And having nonprofits out there come into this room and talk for about 3 to 5 minutes and just get a round robin broadcast so that people can talk a little bit about what they're doing and how people can come in and support them. And so that's just an idea that I came up with while we were sitting here.
Yay!
So I know that's coming up. That's a pretty big deal. So I'll have to build some promos on that. Lynda,
yes, you will.
As always, it's just fun. It's a real pleasure to connect with you, and we should do this a little bit more often. And
yes, yeah.
And so have a great Thanksgiving holiday, and keep up the good work out there in San Diego. So for all our Facebook friends, thank you very much for joining us. Next week, we don't have a show. I'll be traveling. We don't have a show for Thanksgiving, but I probably will pop in on air live because I didn't book a guest to talk a little bit about what we're doing. So with that, I'm going to say bye to our Facebook friends for now. Our regular broadcast will be back on November 30th. And we will be here on Giving Tuesday. So I look forward to seeing you all then. Have a great day.